Hi friends, it's Altenew certified educator Walter Zimrock. I decided to make this video after receiving several requests and questions from folks on how I made this card. So here you go. I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. As you can see, this card has lots of depth and texture to it, and that's achieved by using Altenew embossing paste. You'll need an A2 card base, a brushed silver panel, and a blue panel. All sizes are listed below. And you'll start by adhering the brushed silver panel to the white card base. We're using the beautiful Aspen Skyline layering stencil set, and we're mainly going to use stencils 4, 5, and 6. As mentioned, we'll be using Altenew white embossing paste. You'll start by aligning your stencil number 4 onto your blue card panel. Once happy with the placement, secure it down. Take your palette knife and some embossing paste and go ahead and spread that embossing paste across the stencil. You're only going to be doing the outline of the tree on the one side of stencil number 4 to begin. As you can see, this paste glides on effortlessly. Once done with that layer, I use a hairdryer to speed up the drying process. You can also use your heat tool on low to assist with that as well. You want to make sure that each layer of the embossing paste is completely dry before adding on the next layer. That's going to ensure that your tree doesn't get messed up and that everything looks perfect. I then mix some of the embossing paste with a couple of drops of a tan ink. In this case, I'm using the vanilla cream. Just mix it up until all of the ink is incorporated. You'll then align the other side of stencil 4 with your tree and take the paste and just glide it through the stencil. This creates the fabulous next layer of detail. Once that's done, I dry this layer. Again, using my hair dryer or using whatever method you have available. If letting it air dry, it may take a little bit of time, and I would give at least an hour between layers to make sure that it's completely dried. I'll now take stencil number 5, align my tree on my card panel to the stencil, and secure it in place. I have a glass board crafting surface, and so the magnets do such a great job of holding it in place. I then added a few drops of a light gray ink, this was an ink spray, into my leftover tan embossing paste and mix it up so that it creates a little bit of a darker shade. This will give the nice kind of gray tones that you often see on a birch tree. And once completely mixed, go ahead and spread it through your stencil. This embossing paste truly does just glide right through the stencil very easily, and even where there's already embossing paste down, so it just layers up so nicely since everything is dry that you're applying it down to. You guessed it, Time to add a little bit of heat and speed up the drying process again. I now align stencil number 6 with the tree on my panel. And secure it into place. For this layer, I took some embossing paste and added a couple of drops of blue ink to it. That's going to give kind of a nice little blue tinge to the snow up in the trees. And I take my palette knife and just start spreading it wherever I'd like it. This is where it really comes down to your preference on how much snow you're going to have in the tree and on the branches. If you want a little bit, like in my first card, you'll just put a little bit of the paste on. This time around, I'm going for a little bit more coverage to make it a little bit more full, so I'm using more. And once again, once I peel off the stencil, it's going to be time for drying. I take my hairdryer and make sure that that entire new layer of the embossing paste is dry. As I just mentioned, I wanted this to be a little bit fuller in the for the amount of snow in the tree. So I take stencil number 2 and align it onto my embossed image and secure it down when I'm happy with that alignment. For this layer, I want to lighten up the blue tinge, so I add some more white embossing paste and mix it in. And then glide it over the stencil. Again, you can decide where you'd like the snow to reside on your card panel. You can put as little or as much as you'd like. And once that's done, I go ahead and use my hairdryer to dry all of the embossing paste. I then grab a tan alcohol marker and a gray alcohol marker. And I just go ahead and add in some little marks and details onto the birch tree, onto the bark, and onto the branches. Because oftentimes when you see these trees out in nature, there's different striations of a tan or a brown or a gray that runs through the bark. Especially where some of the bark is missing, and it's just so beautiful. I wanted to replicate that as best I could. Once done with the tan, I take a warm gray, go over some of the same spots to kind of soften it up a bit, but then also add in natural gray tones throughout. And the markers the ink does get onto the embossing paste really nicely. Just make sure not to press too hard because it can soften it up and move it around a bit. But as long as you don't press too hard, you'll be fine. I then grab an even lighter warm gray. This one here was warm gray 01. And I just add some little highlights onto the snow. You just have to touch the marker against the embossing paste and it leaves the color right on there. You can do this or you can skip it. I like it because it kind of adds in some shadows, especially since this is an upward looking view of the tree at night. And you can just add that where you naturally think you would see it, or you can do it randomly. It's really up to you and how you want your creation to look. With that done, I took some of the Altenew white spray ink and just added some white splatter to make it look like it's snowing. I love the way it looks on the card panel. Once the splatter was dry, and you can speed that up with a heat tool, put some adhesive on the back, and then adhere it down to your card base. I thought that all is calm is the perfect sentiment to go with this view, because it really is calming out in nature, especially when it's snowing. So I cut each piece, the shadow and the words. I cut the shadow from white cardstock and the sentiment from the brush silver, glued them together, and then I went ahead and put some double-sided foam tape onto the back of it. I then adhered that down to the card, and the card is finished. It really is so pretty and so calming and quite relaxing. Here's the first card that I made that you all saw during the hop for the September release. That's on the left. On the right is the one that I just made. And as you can see, there's varying degrees of snow and detail, and you can make this so many different ways. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for spending some time here with me today, and I look forward to seeing your beautiful cards. Thanks so much.